October 21, 1978. The sun has dipped below the horizon, casting a serene yet eerie darkness over Bay Strait. For most, it was a typical Saturday evening, but for Frederick Valentik, it was the night that would etch his name into one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in aviation history. Frederick Valentik was a 20-year-old pilot driven by dreams of soaring through the skies. Described as ambitious and meticulous, Frederick had logged over 150 hours of flight time, a respectable number for someone of his age and experience. But as he prepared for his flight from Moorabbin Airport to King Island, no one could have predicted the bizarre events that were about to unfold. Born in Melbourne in 1958, Frederick Valentik grew up fascinated by aviation. His family recalls a boy who spent hours assembling model airplanes and dreaming of piloting his own aircraft one day. He was determined to turn this passion into a career, enrolling in a private flying school where he quickly became known for his dedication. Fred was a good student, very focused and determined. He wasn't the most experienced pilot, but he was careful. He followed protocol to the letter. But alongside his passion for flying was another interest, one that would later become a chilling element in his disappearance: UFOs. Frederick was captivated by the possibility of extraterrestrial life. He often discussed UFO sightings and expressed a firm belief that we were not alone in the universe. Little did he know, this belief would intertwine with the events of his final flight. At 6:19 p.m., Frederick Valentik departed Moorabbin Airport in his Cessna 182L, a light aircraft designed for short-distance flights. His destination, King Island, located approximately 125 miles away. The purpose of his flight remains unclear. Some say he planned to pick up friends, others speculate he was retrieving seafood. Regardless, Frederick was confident in his ability to make the trip. Melbourne, this is Delta Sierra Juliet. Is there any known traffic below 5,000 feet? Delta Sierra Juliet, no known traffic. There's an aircraft just above me, passing over me at least 1,000 feet above. The controller, puzzled, asked Frederick to describe the aircraft. It's long. It's metallic. And it's moving fast, much faster than me. As the conversation continued, Frederick described an object unlike anything he had ever seen. He claimed it had a green light and was orbiting his aircraft. Moments later, the object reportedly vanished, only to reappear on his other side. It's not an aircraft, it's hovering, and it's not an aircraft. At 7:12 p.m., Frederick's final words were recorded. His voice, laced with both awe and fear, uttered a statement that would become the cornerstone of his mystery. It's hovering, and it's not an aircraft. The transmission was suddenly cut off by a strange metallic noise. When Melbourne Flight Service attempted to re-establish contact, there was nothing but silence. A search and rescue mission was launched immediately, covering over 1,000 square miles of ocean. Despite extensive efforts, no trace of Frederick or his Cessna 182L was ever found. The disappearance baffled investigators, leaving behind more questions than answers. We looked everywhere, on land, at sea, even underwater. There was no debris, no oil slick, nothing to indicate a crash. It was as if he vanished into thin air. One theory suggests that Frederick became disoriented while flying over Bay Strait. Pilots often experience spatial disorientation, especially at night, leading them to believe they're flying level when they're not. Could this explain the mysterious metallic object and his subsequent disappearance? Another possibility is that his aircraft suffered a mechanical failure. The Cessna 182L was a reliable plane, but no machine is infallible. If the engine failed, Frederick may have crashed into the sea. Yet, without wreckage, this theory remains speculative. Perhaps the most controversial theory is that Frederick encountered a UFO. His detailed description of the object, its speed, shape, and behavior, mirrors accounts of UFO sightings from around the world. Some believe he was abducted, his plane taken along with him. The disappearance of Frederick Valentik has captivated the world for decades, inspiring books, documentaries, and countless debates. It remains one of the most enduring aviation mysteries of all time. The Sahara. A place of extremes. the largest hot desert in the world, stretching over 9 million square kilometers. For most of us, it's synonymous with endless sand dunes, unbearable heat, and an unforgiving emptiness. But what if I told you that this barren land was once a thriving paradise? A place of flowing rivers, sprawling grasslands, and abundant wildlife. A world so vibrant, it supported early human civilizations that left behind tantalizing clues about their lives. Welcome to Cryptiverse, where we unravel the mysteries of our world, one story at a time. Today, we journey into the heart of the Sahara to uncover a forgotten chapter of Earth's history, the era of the Green Sahara. How did this transformation occur? What happened to the people who lived here? And, most intriguingly, could the Sahara turn green again? To understand the Green Sahara, we need to travel back in time, thousands of years into the past. Imagine this: instead of vast sand dunes, you see lush grasslands stretching to the horizon. Rivers snake their way across the land, feeding sprawling lakes. Herds of elephants and giraffes graze under the shade of trees, while humans hunt, fish, and farm. This was the Sahara around 9,000 years ago. This era, known as the African Humid Period, was a time of abundance. Scientists believe it began around 11,000 years ago, driven by shifts in Earth's orbit. These changes affected the planet's axial tilt and precession, altering monsoon patterns and bringing heavy rains to northern Africa. Over time, these rains transformed the Sahara into one of the most fertile regions on the planet. But this transformation wasn't permanent. Around 4,000 years ago, the rains began to falter, and the Sahara started its slow but relentless march back to desertification. Today, only faint traces of its lush past remain. To uncover the secrets of the Green Sahara, scientists have turned to the land itself. Beneath the sand, they've found remarkable evidence of its fertile past: tools, pottery, even burial sites. Lake Chad, once one of the largest lakes in the world, is a prime example of the Green Sahara's legacy. At its peak, it was over 300,000 square kilometers, nearly the size of the Caspian Sea today. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of human settlements around its ancient shores, including fishhooks, grinding stones, and ornamental jewelry. These findings reveal that the people of the Green Sahara weren't mere nomads. They built communities, practiced agriculture, and domesticated animals. But as the climate began to shift, they faced an existential crisis. As the Sahara dried up, its inhabitants were forced to adapt or leave. This mass migration shaped the course of human history, with some groups moving eastward toward the Nile Valley, while others spread south into sub-Saharan Africa. It's believed that the fertile Nile Valley became a refuge for many. These migrants may have contributed to the rise of ancient Egyptian civilization, bringing with them knowledge of farming and irrigation. Others likely moved into West Africa, influencing cultures and societies that still exist today. The Green Sahara wasn't just a geographic phenomenon, it was a cultural one. The people who lived there left an indelible mark on human history, even if their story remains largely untold. This brings us to a fascinating question: could the Sahara turn green again? The answer, surprisingly, is yes. Earth's orbit continues to wobble, and scientists predict that in about 10,000 to 15,000 years, the Sahara could experience another humid period. But there's also the possibility of human intervention accelerating this process. The Great Green Wall is an ambitious effort to combat desertification by planting trees across the Sahel region. While its primary goal is to stop the spread of the Sahara, some believe it could also help restore parts of the desert to their former glory. The Green Sahara is more than a story of climate change, it's a testament to the resilience of life. It reminds us that even the harshest landscapes can harbor untold beauty, and that the Earth itself is a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving. As we face our own challenges with climate change, the Green Sahara offers both a cautionary tale and a glimmer of hope. It shows us the power of adaptation and the enduring connection between humans and their environment. So, what do you think? Could we witness a Green Sahara in our lifetime? And what other secrets might lie buried beneath the sands, waiting to be uncovered? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more mysteries uncovered. It was the late afternoon of May 26, 1828, when a young boy appeared in the bustling city of Nuremberg, Germany. His clothes were tattered, his gait unsteady, and his presence almost spectral. Little did anyone know, this seemingly ordinary boy would spark one of the most enduring mysteries of the 19th century. His name was Caspar Hauser, a boy with no past, no home, and no explanation. On that fateful day, residents of Nuremberg noticed a peculiar figure wandering the streets. He was young, barely 16 years old, but he moved awkwardly, as though unused to walking. He held a letter addressed to the local cavalry captain, Friedrich von Wessnig. The contents of the letter were baffling. It claimed the boy had been raised in complete isolation by an unknown guardian and was now being released into society. The letter stated, "I have raised him as best I could. He was never allowed to leave the house. If you do not wish to keep him, you must kill him or hang him in the chimney." A chilling introduction to a child no one seemed to know. When questioned, the boy seemed unable to answer coherently. He spoke only a few words, repeating phrases like "I want to be a writer like my father" and "Where am I?" His behavior was equally strange. He ate ravenously, as if unfamiliar with cooked food, and he reacted with terror to unfamiliar objects, like mirrors and clocks. News of the boy spread quickly, and soon, the entire city was captivated by the enigma of Caspar Hauser. Who was he? Where had he come from? And why did he seem so utterly unprepared for life outside a small room? To unravel the mystery, the authorities began a thorough investigation. Caspar had a youthful appearance, with soft, pale skin that suggested he had spent little time outdoors. His hands were calloused in a strange way, as though he had spent years gripping an object, perhaps the toy wooden horse he carried everywhere. And most notably, his eyes had a wide, almost unearthly gaze, as if he were constantly startled by the world around him. Through painstaking efforts, they learned that Caspar had been kept in a dark, confined space for as long as he could remember. He claimed to have been fed only bread and water by an unseen figure and had never met another human until his release. He had no memory of his family, no understanding of time, and no concept of the world beyond his prison. Under the care of local officials, Caspar began to adapt to his new life. He was taught to speak more fluently, and his intelligence quickly became apparent. Within months, he was reading, writing, and displaying a remarkable talent for drawing. But his rapid progress only deepened the mystery. How could someone with such potential have been hidden away for so long? Despite his progress, Caspar remained an enigma. He had an almost childlike innocence, yet his behavior could be erratic. He was terrified of loud noises and unfamiliar people, and he often seemed to retreat into himself, as if haunted by memories he couldn't articulate. As Caspar's story spread, theories about his origins began to take shape. Some believed he was an abandoned orphan, while others speculated that he was the illegitimate child of nobility, hidden away to protect a family's reputation. The most outlandish theory suggested he was a lost heir to the throne of Baden, a royal family embroiled in intrigue and scandal. Supporters of this theory pointed to the timing of Caspar's appearance, which coincided with rumors of a stolen prince. Could Caspar Hauser have been the rightful heir, hidden away to prevent him from claiming his birthright? Or was this simply a case of wishful thinking? On October 17, 1829, the mystery took a sinister turn. Caspar was found in his room, bleeding from a wound to his forehead. He claimed an unknown assailant had attacked him and fled. A note was found at the scene, written in a cryptic, unsteady hand. It read, "You will never uncover who he is." The attack fueled speculation that Caspar's life was in danger because of who he might be. But skeptics questioned his account, suggesting he might have staged the attack to gain attention. This marked the beginning of a divide between those who believed Caspar and those who doubted him. In the summer of 1901, two English women set out to explore the magnificent Palace of Versailles in France, unaware that their day would unravel into one of the most mysterious and hotly debated accounts of alleged time travel. This is the story of Charlotte and Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, two academics whose eerie experience defies explanation even today. To understand the Moberly-Jourdain incident, we must first meet the protagonists. Charlotte Ann Moberly, a scholar born in 1846, came from a distinguished family. Her father was the Bishop of Salisbury, and her upbringing was steeped in academic and religious traditions. By the time of the incident, she was the principal of St. Hugh's College in Oxford, a position reserved for a woman of remarkable intellect. Eleanor Jourdain, born in 1863, was equally accomplished. She was a writer and an academic who would eventually become Moberly's assistant at St. Hugh's College. The two met in 1901, and their shared passion for education and travel soon brought them together on a journey to France. Little did they know that their trip would become the foundation of one of the strangest time-slip mysteries in modern history. On August 10, 1901, Moberly and Jourdain visited Versailles. The palace, once the seat of French royalty, was a popular destination for tourists, steeped in history and grandeur. However, their day began with a series of small frustrations. They found the palace itself uninspiring and decided to explore the gardens instead, searching for the Petit Trianon, a small chateau associated with Marie Antoinette. As they wandered, they began to notice an unusual stillness in the air. The atmosphere grew heavy, and the vibrant modernity of their surroundings seemed to fade. This is where their account takes a turn into the inexplicable. According to their joint account, the women began to feel disoriented. They noticed people dressed in what appeared to be 18th-century clothing, men wearing tricorn hats, women in long gowns, and servants working nearby. Moberly described seeing a woman sketching in the grass, wearing a pale green dress. She later believed this woman to be none other than Queen Marie Antoinette herself. Jourdain, on the other hand, reported encountering peculiar men with dark complexions who directed them toward the Petit Trianon in an oddly mechanical manner. Eventually, the spell seemed to lift. The air returned to normal, and the modern sights and sounds of Versailles came rushing back. The two women left the palace grounds, initially unsure of what had just occurred. It wasn't until they compared their recollections later that they realized the full strangeness of their experience. Both had seen and felt things that didn't align with their 20th century reality. Determined to make sense of it, they began researching the history of the Petit Trianon and the people they had allegedly encountered. In 1911, 10 years after their visit to Versailles, Moberly and Jourdain published a book titled An Adventure. Writing under pseudonyms, they detailed their experiences, suggesting that they had somehow stumbled into a slice of the 18th century. The book caused a sensation. Some readers believed it to be proof of time travel or a ghostly phenomenon, while others dismissed it as a fanciful tale or an outright hoax. Skeptics pointed to the women's lack of evidence and inconsistencies in their story, but believers argued that their detailed descriptions of 18th-century life were too accurate to be fabricated. Today, the Moberly-Jourdain incident remains an enigma. Historians, paranormal enthusiasts, and skeptics continue to debate its plausibility. What makes the story so compelling is not just the eerie encounter itself, but the questions it raises about time, memory, and the nature of reality. Could Versailles be a thin place, where the veil between past and present is unusually fragile? Or was this a case of two imaginative minds interpreting their experience through the lens of history and mysticism? Whether you believe in time travel, ghosts, or psychological phenomena, the Moberly-Jourdain incident is a story that challenges our understanding of the world. It reminds us that history is not just a collection of dates and facts, it is a living, breathing force that can reach out and touch us in unexpected ways. So, next time you visit a historic site, take a moment to pause and listen. You never know what, or who, you might encounter. Thanks for watching Cryptiverse, where the past meets the unexplained. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts on this mystery in the comments below. See you in the next adventure into the unknown. Hidden deep within the quiet woods of Hagley, England, lies a mystery so chilling that it continues to baffle investigators, historians, and conspiracy theorists over 80 years later. This is the story of the woman known only as Bella, and the haunting question etched into history: who put Bella in the witch elm? It all began on a warm April day in 1943. The world was gripped by the chaos of World War II, but in the English Midlands, life was slow and provincial. Four boys, eager to escape the monotony of wartime life, ventured into Hagley Woods to play. Their discovery would forever change the quiet village and send ripples of fear and intrigue through generations. The four boys, Bob Farmer, Tom Willits, Fred Payne, and Bob Hart, had set out to find bird nests, an innocent pastime common in their rural community. But as they wandered through the dense forest, their attention was caught by an unusual tree, a hollow wych elm. Curiosity got the better of them. One of the boys, Bob Farmer, decided to climb the tree to peer inside. What he found froze him in his tracks. Staring back at him from the hollow was a human skull. At first, the boys thought it might belong to an animal. But as Bob examined it closer, he noticed human teeth still attached to the jaw. Panicked, they ran home, swearing to keep their discovery a secret for fear of getting into trouble for trespassing. But, as secrets often do, it slipped out. One of the boys confided in his parents, who immediately alerted the authorities. The discovery would soon ignite an investigation that would reveal more questions than answers. When police arrived, they uncovered a near-complete human skeleton lodged deep within the wych elm. Alongside the bones, they found scraps of clothing and a single shoe. Most disturbingly, the skeleton's right hand was missing. It was later discovered buried near the tree. The remains were sent for forensic examination, and the findings painted a grim picture. The skeleton belonged to a woman estimated to be between 35 and 40 years old. She had likely died 18 months earlier, around 1941. The cause of death? Asphyxiation, suggesting she had been suffocated or strangled. This was no natural death. It was murder. The next challenge was identifying the victim. Unfortunately, dental records provided no match. Her identity, like the circumstances of her death, was shrouded in mystery. Without a name or a clear motive, the case grew cold. Then, something strange happened. In 1944, a year after the body was discovered, graffiti began to appear in Birmingham and the surrounding areas. The first read, "Who put Bella in the wych elm?" Written in a haunting, childlike scrawl, the message seemed to taunt investigators. Was it the killer? A prankster? Or someone who knew more than they let on? Regardless, the graffiti became a rallying cry for amateur sleuths and conspiracy theorists. Bella, whoever she was, would never be forgotten. Over the decades, numerous theories emerged about Bella's identity and the circumstances of her death. Some were grounded in fact, others bordered on the fantastical. One theory suggested Bella was a victim of an occult ritual. In folklore, burying a hand separately from the body was a practice associated with the Hand of Glory, a magical artifact believed to grant its possessor powers. Could Bella have been sacrificed by a secretive cult? Another theory linked Bella to espionage. During World War II, the Midlands were a hub for military operations, and it was rumored that Bella might have been a spy. A woman matching Bella's description was allegedly seen at a nearby pub, speaking with foreign soldiers. Could her death have been the result of wartime espionage gone wrong? Still others believe Bella was simply an unfortunate drifter who fell victim to a violent crime. Without concrete evidence, the truth remains elusive. Who put Bella in the wych elm? Was she a spy, a victim of ritualistic sacrifice, or simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? The truth remains buried, perhaps forever. But one thing is certain, Bella's story will continue to captivate and confound those who seek answers in the shadows of history. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. Subscribe to Cryptiverse for more mysteries that defy explanation. In the quiet town of Oakville, Washington, nestled away from the bustling cities, an event took place in August 1994 that defied logic and remains unexplained to this day. On this fateful morning, residents awoke to find their world transformed, not by rain, snow, or fog, but by a bizarre, jelly-like substance that blanketed the town. What followed would puzzle scientists, spark conspiracy theories, and leave the residents of Oakville wondering, what exactly fell from the skies that day? Was it a natural phenomenon, a secret military experiment, or something far more otherworldly? Welcome to Cryptiverse, where today, we unravel the chilling enigma of the Oakville blobs. August 7, 1994, a day like any other in Oakville. The town's population of just over 600 people went about their routines under an overcast sky. But as dawn broke, something strange began to happen. Rain clouds loomed, and soon, instead of water, a translucent, gelatinous substance began to fall from the sky. This wasn't rain. It wasn't hail. It was a strange, slimy material, almost like soft jelly, that clung to every surface it touched. Cars, rooftops, and the very ground were coated in this mysterious goo. Some described it as resembling silicon gel, others compared it to tapioca pudding. Naturally, curiosity overtook concern. Residents began to investigate the strange phenomenon, and some even touched the blobs. But what they didn't know was that this peculiar rain would soon bring a wave of illness that would spread through the town like wildfire. In the hours following the bizarre jelly fall, a wave of illness swept through Oakville. Many residents began reporting flu-like symptoms, intense dizziness, difficulty breathing, blurred vision, and extreme nausea. Even the town's animals were affected. Several cats and dogs who came into contact with the blobs became lethargic, and some tragically passed away. Doctors in the area were baffled. The symptoms were consistent with a severe viral infection, but no clear cause could be identified. Meanwhile, the mysterious blobs, which had initially caused more curiosity than alarm, were now under intense scrutiny. But what were these blobs? Where did they come from? And could they somehow be linked to the sudden illnesses spreading through the town? The townsfolk, desperate for answers, turned to the authorities. Samples of the substance were collected and sent to a nearby lab for analysis. Early findings only deepened the mystery. Under the microscope, the jelly-like material appeared to contain human white blood cells, something that should never fall from the sky. But how could this be? And why was the substance falling in Oakville? Initial theories ranged from mundane to extraordinary. Some speculated it was industrial waste accidentally discharged from passing airplanes. Others suggested it was some sort of sea creature residue, stirred into the atmosphere by military testing in the Pacific Ocean. But as days turned into weeks, these explanations failed to hold water. And a darker, more sinister theory began to take root, one that pointed directly to the U.S. government. To many residents, the timing and nature of the phenomenon seemed far too coincidental to be random. Oakville was situated near several military installations, and it wasn't uncommon for locals to spot jets conducting exercises in the area. Could the jelly rain have been the result of a classified military experiment gone wrong? Perhaps an airborne biological test or the accidental release of a weaponized agent? One local resident, Dottie Hearn, recalled seeing military aircraft flying over Oakville shortly before the jellyfall began. She believed the phenomenon wasn't a freak accident but a deliberate act, one the government was intent on keeping secret. As news of the Oakville blob spread, it wasn't long before the story captured national attention. Conspiracy theories flourished. Some believed the blobs were part of a secret project to test the effects of biological agents on civilian populations. Others claimed it was extraterrestrial in origin, an alien substance deliberately released to observe its impact on humans. To this day, the U.S. government has never commented on the incident, leading many to wonder, what are they hiding? While conspiracy theories abounded, scientists continued to analyze the samples. A microbiologist named Mike McDowell, who worked at the Washington State Department of Health, made a startling discovery. He claimed the blobs contain two types of bacteria, one of which is commonly found in the human digestive system. But what was it doing in the jelly? And how could such a substance have come to rain down over Oakville? Even stranger, the samples themselves began to degrade over time, making further testing nearly impossible. This only added to the growing list of questions. Good evening. Our top story tonight: Los Angeles is in the grip of unprecedented wildfires, marking one of the most devastating natural disasters in the city's history. Since January 7, 2025, a series of wildfires have ravaged the Los Angeles metropolitan area and surrounding regions. The most significant blazes, the Palisades Fire, Eaton Fire, Hearst Fire, and Sunset Fire, have been fueled by severe Santa Ana winds exceeding 80 miles per hour, combined with drought conditions. The Palisades Fire, originating near Pacific Palisades, has consumed over 17,000 acres, making it the most destructive wildfire in Los Angeles history. The Eaton Fire, starting in Eaton Canyon, has scorched more than 10,600 acres, leading to widespread evacuations in Altadena and surrounding areas. Over 7,500 firefighters are on the front lines, facing formidable challenges due to the relentless winds and rugged terrain. Containment efforts are minimal, with most major fires at 0% containment. The situation remains dire as resources are stretched thin. With the current weather conditions, particularly the strong Santa Ana winds, it's essentially impossible to effectively combat the fires until the winds die down. Our strategies are being challenged at every turn. Evacuation orders have impacted over 137,000 residents, with entire neighborhoods reduced to ash. Tragically, at least 5 lives have been lost, and several individuals have sustained injuries. The fires have destroyed more than 2,000 structures, including homes of notable figures. Among the properties lost is the residence of Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag in Pacific Palisades. The couple evacuated safely before their home was engulfed by flames. I have declared a major disaster in California and canceled my upcoming trip to Italy. We are mobilizing all available federal resources to support the firefighting efforts and assist those affected by this catastrophe. Evacuation centers are at capacity, and air quality has plummeted to hazardous levels, prompting health advisories across the region. The community is rallying together, but the road to recovery will be long and arduous. These fires are a stark reminder of the escalating climate crisis. Unprecedented weather patterns and prolonged droughts have created a tinderbox environment. We must address the underlying causes to prevent future tragedies. As the city looks to the skies for relief, the forecast remains uncertain. The hope is that calming winds and eventual rainfall will aid in quelling the inferno, allowing Los Angeles to begin the process of healing and rebuilding. For information on evacuation orders and how to assist those affected, please visit the Los Angeles Fire Department's official website.
The Kamardaban Incident, Siberia's Silent Tragedy. The Unforgettable Journey. The Kamardaban mountain range sprawls across southern Siberia, a place of unparalleled beauty and mystery. Towering peaks, dense coniferous forests, and the unforgiving climate make it both alluring and treacherous to explorers. In 1993, this range became the backdrop for one of the most harrowing and unexplained tragedies in modern hiking history. In early August of that year, 7 hikers, led by an experienced survivalist named Ludmila Korovina, set out on an adventure meant to challenge their endurance and enrich their spirits. They were a tight-knit group, sharing a love for nature and a desire to conquer the unknown. Yet, within days, the group would face an unfathomable horror, one that would leave 6 dead and 1 survivor to tell the tale. What exactly happened in the Kamardaban Mountains? Despite years of speculation, the incident remains shrouded in mystery, its details both chilling and perplexing. The hikers and their dreams. At the heart of this tragic tale are the 7 hikers who embarked on the ill-fated journey. Each had their own reason for joining the trek, but they shared a collective goal: to push their limits and experience the rugged beauty of the Siberian wilderness. Ludmila Korovina, 41, a seasoned guide with decades of survival training, Ludmila was respected and admired by her peers. Her reputation as a tough but compassionate leader made her the ideal mentor for the young adventurers. Tatiana Filipenko, 24, a medical student with a love for nature. Tatiana's cheerful demeanor and resourcefulness made her a vital member of the team. Alexander Krisin, 23, an athletic and outgoing individual. Alexander was known for his boundless energy and enthusiasm. Dennis Schwartz, 19, quiet and introspective. Dennis had a natural ability to stay calm under pressure. He was often seen as the group's voice of reason. Victor Tyabin, 24, a brilliant engineering student with a knack for problem solving. Victor was admired for his determination and resilience. Timofey Chernyshev, 15, the youngest in the group. Timofey was eager to prove himself and soaked up every lesson Ludmila had to offer. Valentina Yudokenko, 17, a bright and inquisitive teenager. Valentina's survival against all odds would later provide the only insight into the tragedy. For most of the group, this was not their first trek. They had experience navigating challenging terrain and were well prepared for the trip, carrying essential supplies, maps, and emergency equipment. The journey started on a bright, optimistic note. The hikers gathered at the base of the Kamardaban range, their spirits high and their laughter echoing through the trees. For Ludmila, this was just another challenge in a long career of guiding expeditions. For the others, it was a chance to prove themselves in the wild and learn from one of the best. Into the wilderness. The first few days of the trek were idyllic. The group followed established trails through dense forests, stopping to admire the breathtaking views of Lake Baikal shimmering in the distance. Birds chirped overhead, and the sound of rushing streams filled the air. The hikers' journals and photographs from this time capture moments of joy and camaraderie, smiling faces, playful banter, and a shared sense of accomplishment as they conquered each leg of the journey. Ludmila's expertise was evident in every decision she made. She taught the group how to navigate using landmarks and the stars, how to build shelters in case of emergencies, and how to identify edible plants. These lessons, though intended as precautionary, would soon prove vital to Valentina's survival. As they ascended deeper into the mountains, the weather began to change. What had started as cool and pleasant conditions grew colder and wetter. The Kamardaban range is notorious for its unpredictable weather, and the group soon found themselves hiking through fog and intermittent rain. Despite the challenges, morale remained high. Ludmila assured the group that the storm would pass, and they pressed on, eager to reach the next milestone. The storm. By the fifth day, the storm had intensified. Rain poured relentlessly, soaking the hikers to the bone despite their waterproof gear. The winds howled through the valleys, and the temperature plummeted. What had been a manageable trek now became a battle against the elements. Ludmila decided to set up camp and wait out the storm. The group pitched their tents on a relatively flat area near a small stream, huddling together for warmth. Valentina later recalled that the mood was tense but hopeful. They trusted Ludmila's judgment and believed they could endure the storm. But the weather wasn't their only adversary. The unfolding horror. On the morning of August 5, 1993, the group awoke to worsening conditions. The rain had turned to sleet, and visibility was poor. As they prepared to break camp, something unimaginable happened. Tatiana Filipenko, who had been cheerful and energetic the previous evening, suddenly collapsed. She clutched her throat, gasping for air, and began convulsing violently. Foam bubbled from her mouth as her body spasmed uncontrollably. Within minutes, she was dead. The group was paralyzed with shock. Ludmila tried to calm the others and assess the situation, but there was no time to process what had just happened. Moments later, Alexander and Dennis began exhibiting the same symptoms. Their bodies contorted in pain as they fell to the ground, convulsing and choking. Ludmila, now visibly distressed, instructed the remaining hikers to stay together and remain calm. But the situation only worsened. Ludmila herself began to falter, collapsing to her knees as blood streamed from her mouth and nose. Her once commanding presence gave way to helplessness as she succumbed to the mysterious ailment. Valentina, Victor, and Timofey were the last to remain standing. Desperation set in as they watched their companions perish in rapid succession. Victor tried to shield Timofey, but within hours, both succumbed to the same fate. Valentina, the sole survivor, fled the scene in terror. A fight for survival. For 3 days, Valentina wandered through the wilderness, cold, hungry, and traumatized. The storm continued to rage, and she had no choice but to rely on the survival skills Ludmila had taught her. She found shelter under overhanging rocks, rationed what little food she had, and used the stream to stay hydrated. When she was finally rescued, she was in a state of severe hypothermia and psychological shock. Her testimony would later provide investigators with their only glimpse into the tragedy, but her account raised more questions than answers. The investigation. The discovery of the hikers' bodies sent shockwaves through the local community. Search and rescue teams described the scene as nightmarish, bodies scattered in various positions, their faces frozen in expressions of agony. Some were curled up as if trying to shield themselves from the cold, while others lay sprawled on the ground. The official cause of death was listed as hypothermia, but investigators couldn't ignore the strange symptoms described by Valentina: convulsions, foaming at the mouth, and bleeding. Toxicology reports found no traces of poison or drugs, and autopsies revealed no signs of external trauma. Theories and speculation. Over the years, Countless theories have emerged in an attempt to explain what happened to the Camardaban hikers. 1. Poisoning. Some believe the hikers ingested toxic plants or drank contaminated water, but this theory is undermined by the lack of toxins in their bodies. 2. Chemical weapons. The sudden and violent nature of the deaths has led some to speculate that the group encountered a military-grade chemical agent. However, there is no evidence of such substances in the area. 3. Paranormal activity. Others point to supernatural explanations, citing local legends of cursed lands and malevolent spirits. 4. UFOs. The bizarre symptoms and unexplained circumstances have fueled theories of extraterrestrial involvement. Legacy and unanswered questions. The Camardaban incident remains one of the most perplexing mysteries of the modern era. Decades later, the case continues to captivate and confound investigators, adventurers, and theorists. Valentina Yudokenko, now an adult, rarely speaks of the tragedy. Her survival stands as a testament to human resilience, but it also serves as a haunting reminder of the fragility of life in the face of nature or something.
On the psychological implications of such messages. Fear, especially when shared by an entire community, can lead to extraordinary actions. The phrase could represent a collective acknowledgement of doom, whatever form that doom might have taken. Horror Verdi's story has endured, passing from whispers to folklore and into the modern age. Similar mysteries, like the Dyatlov Pass incident in Russia or the disappearance of the Mary Celeste's crew, continue to capture our imagination. They remind us of the fragility of life and the limits of our understanding. To this day, no definitive answer exists. Theories abound, but the truth remains elusive. What happened to the villagers of Horror Verde? Did they leave willingly, or were they forced? Were they victims of human conflict, natural disaster, or something far stranger? In the end, the vanishing of Horror Verde is more than just an unsolved mystery. It is a testament to the unknown forces, both external and internal, that shape human existence. As we ponder the fate of this lost village, we are left with one question: what do you believe happened?